Doctor? Doctor, come quickly!
The calendar!
Willie McSilly, how do you know when someone is never going to find a soulmate?
How? Do tell.
If they're into gingers.
Oh. Alright then. That was a very blunt opening joke.
Hello, welcome to day 24 of the Genesis Avengers on the Advent calendar. Today we are doing another Worst of Classic Who, and near the start of the calendar we did Time Lash, which feels like that was... I mean, we've recorded it like 6 months ago, but even when it came out, that feels like so long ago given how busy I've been this month. Trying to put all this Advent calendar shit together. Especially given that as of yesterday, my EDAR 19 stream didn't happen because of a massive power cut, and because of that massive power cut, it's also delayed editing as well.
Also, Will Maddox, you bad gay boy, I'm calling you out. Love Will Maddox, the bad gay boy. So, there you go, I called myself out.
God, what a horrendous...
Oh, and forgive the throat clearing. Forgive the throat clearing, audience. I'm just recovering from a cold.
No, you've just been sucking too much cock.
Oh yeah, that's the canonical correct answer.
Yes. Also,
what are we watching today?
Well, there's a list on screen of all the classic Who stories in this whole series, and we're almost at the very end. We are now on the 7th Doctor's era with Sylvester McCoy, who is, out of all the Doctors now, it is the one that I have the most missing, like in terms of TV stories I haven't seen from them. It's the one that I have the most left to watch. I'm jumbling my words massively. And specifically season 24. That is my biggest blind spot on the TV show now after all this time. But also, let's not forget, this is not just the first Sylvester McCoy story, it's also the last Colin Baker story, or should I say 6th Doctor story, because Colin's not in it.
6th. But yeah, we are watching Time in the Rani, and of all the... So when I went to London Comic Con a few weeks back, and Bonnie Langford was there, and I had any story I could get her to sign. I could get her to sign Terror of the Vervoids or Delta and the Bannerman or something, or even like a Big Finish story. No, I brought Time in the Rani along and I got her to sign it. So that's that's some nice bit of trivia there.
So I have seen little snippets of this story before. I've seen obviously the regeneration scene with the iconic line, which I'm sure we will quote together as it happens. I've seen some of the post-regeneration trauma stuff. I've seen some of the stuff of him picking his costume out. And there's one big Mel Scream bit that I've also seen that you put in your meme compilation.
Yeah. I remember that now.
But apart from that, I'm pretty blind going into the story. I'm aware of what it is like. It's been described to me in great detail, but I'm not familiar with the intricacies of like the plot and the characters outside of the leads, if you get what I mean. I've seen what some of the visuals look like, and oh boy, very interesting choices.
Because you do a thing with these streams where it's like, for the Worst of Classic Who, you like to get on a guest who you feel is familiar with the story, or who could be like a good commentator for it, or who defends it, or like it has something worthwhile to say about it, so on and so forth. And I volunteered to be for Time in the Rani because it is not a good story. I will go out there right now and say it is not a good story, but it is a big guilty pleasure, and that's all I have to say so far.
Well, I'm kind of,
but without spoiling anything.
Well, what I'm hoping for with this is that I have fun. I want to have fun watching it. That's the main thing.
Oh god, yeah. I always have fun when I watch it. It's stupid. It's.
But I think the thing, one of the reasons why I'm so happy to be watching this story specifically with you, is that both me and you have something in common, in that we like to tease Seventh Doctor diehard fans about the Seventh Doctor, because whilst, you know, I do like the Seventh Doctor, and hint hint, in tomorrow's Advent Calendar video, day 25, I will be briefly speaking about the Seventh Doctor. Wink wink. But there's this sort of running thing of, despite the fact that we, you know, love McCoy as an actor, and I overall do like the Seventh Doctor, I also find a lot of the Seventh Doctor fans to be really cringy and nerdy in a funny way.
Oh yeah, because a lot of them are like, you know, VNA diehards who are like, oh my god, he thought them like he was Merlin, and he fought Fenric and like Time Worm and like Long Barrow, and oh my god, so cool, like that kind of stuff.
And it was like, and yes, after I got done reading the works of Karl Marx, I sat down and read Long Barrow, and I learnt all about the history of this character, and also an absolutely fascinating intellectual experience it really was. And then, of course, I went to sit down and read another one that talked all about the grey areas of rape, you know, and how it can be, you know, has complexities to it, morally speaking. And I think that would be rather interesting. And then, of course, they talk all about how the Seventh Doctor is, like, secretly this Machiavellian god who moves chess pieces around the universe, and he's got all this history with all these demons and spirits and
secretly,
yeah, and like all this love, all these like Lovecraftian Satan figures and all that. So the reason why I'm really happy to be watching Time in the Rani with you is because we get to unearth the hard truth that is the Seventh Doctor, that those fans have to accept is the reality, and that is that
he started out like an utter dingus.
Yes.
An utter non-best friend dingus.
Yes, he started out as a pantomime clown, and I'm all here for it.
Although it's funny because I remember once seeing like someone in a comments section trying to retroactively justify it, being like, well, the reason why he became a Machiavellian genius like later on is because he felt so ashamed after being so easily tricked in this story. It's like, no, it's because this story is fucking dumb.
It's because
backpedal.
The reason why that happens is because Andrew Cartmel joined the writing process of season 24 very late, and he wasn't there for this story, and so it was all the lovely, cute, and adorable Pip and Jane Baker and all their wholesome naivety. Because I have seen, obviously, I've seen The Mark of the Rani, and I've seen Terror of the Vervoids, and I've seen Ultimate Foe Part 2. And the thing with The Mark of the Rani...
acquainted with them.
Yeah, the thing with The Mark of the Rani is that it's a story set in the Industrial Revolution that could be told, that could reveal and sort of showcase all the truths behind it, and how it's both given us so much technology to work with to advance society, but it's also created a lot of, you know, issues going forward as well, in terms of pollution, in terms of, you know, slave labor, in terms of all sorts of things. And then also, you know, the people behind it. But then when you watch the story, none of that's addressed, and all the characters that are in the story that are part of the revolution are all just like really nice people, and they're really cheerful and chipper. So
yeah,
I have an idea of the
Terror
sort
of the Vervoids has something. Yeah, Terror of the Vervoids has something similar, because it's got this like really dark, like, you know, underlying theme of like, oh, the plants are overthrowing the animals, and like this is what, you know, what the animal kingdom does to plant life. This is what the plants are going to do in retaliation or something. Which, you know, that's a really dark idea, and it's buried under all like these chipper puns and exercise gags. And
there's something about something about Pip and Jane Baker. They're like, in terms of when you talk about, because obviously most Doctor Who writers tend to be very left leaning. You think like Malcolm Holt, Russell T Davies, all that stuff. But then when you think of the sort of more conservative leading Doctor Who writers, you know, like Anthony Coburn and Gareth Roberts and a bunch of others, I feel like Pip and Jane Baker, for me, they come across as the most innocent, naive, and unknowing conservative writers in the show. because like they have these very sort of old timey, you know, they were old at the time when they're in the 80s, and they had this very old timey way of thinking, but they don't have any like ill intent. It's all just sort of naive and very sort of cute and just very much just like living in the past, and that's all they know. It's almost like they're just sort of unaware of some of the realities, and they're just it's not that they have any hatred towards anyone or any like really disgusting ideas or anything like that. They just have this very sort of, I don't know, it's hard. Do you know what I mean by when I say that? It's just like your old granny that lives on a farm that just doesn't know what society's doing.
Kind of Chris Chibnall-esque, but like not as insufferable. So.
Yeah, well, I think Chris Chibnall's a bit more negligent than they are. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's funny though, because you mentioned that, because Chris Chibnall really likes Time in the Rani, or at least he did when it came out. He wrote a letter to them saying that the show has been massively improved. This story.
I mean, I like it, but for all the wrong reasons. Although I'm sure you'll...
Yeah, it'll be interesting to get into the meta part of this, in the sense of, this is the story that's supposed to be the breath of fresh air after the backlash and controversy of the Colin Baker era, right? This is supposed to be when the show is saying, look, there's something new. And then they kind of had to do that again in season 25 when they did Remembrance of the Daleks, and they did it to a much more successful, level.
We'll see how this goes.
I'll be
intrigued to see your first time reaction.
I'll be watching the DVD version because I don't have the Blu-ray yet. And even despite the fact that we live in 2022 and about to be 2023, our PCs, our computers, still can't play Blu-ray discs, which I think is really stupid. I don't know how that's still a thing.
Sorry, I'm just flashing my DVD copy on the screen again because you took the opportunity to do it. Bonnie signed it, right?
No, Bonnie Langford.
And a little bit of a hint, the episode that we're going to be well, at least I will, I don't know about you, you'll probably disagree, but the episode that we're going to be defending against Hellbent actually does have Bonnie Langford in it. So that's an interesting little fact.
Well, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So.
Absolutely. I've also heard some people say they struggle to finish this story. I believe this is Jamie Stevens' season 7's least favourite Doctor Who story of all time, right?
Yes, because he's a big Pertwee era stan, and for good reason. And the Pertwee era tonally is the exact opposite of this. So.
Yeah, I'm not expecting something akin to season 7. Let's just say that, not akin to the Ambassadors of Death.
Yeah. I think I've had a theory for a while that like the reason why season 24 gets such a bad rap is because tonally it is the exact opposite end of the scale that you get for something like Pertwee era or Hinchcliffe era Tom, because those eras like have a lot of like grounded sincerity, and
the Doctor is a masculine
sort of
tall figure that punches people in the face. Or at least Tom Baker is.
Be very
Pertwee's a bit more sort of
dark. Like there are moments.
Pertwee's not as violent on purpose as Tom is.
Yeah, and those eras tend to be very straight-faced, and like they have moments of camp sprinkled in, but like usually those more campy stories get shit on anyway. Like, the Time Monster. But
I love the Time Monster. That's actually part of it. That was part of this series.
But yeah, that's what I mean. Like, Time in the Rani, meanwhile, is the exact opposite end of the scale, where there is like almost no grounded sincerity. Like, characters act seriously to an extent, but like it's so.
And given this is both a regeneration story and a post-regeneration story, it's got some pretty serious implications.
Oh god, I think this story is a guilty pleasure. I will say that. I do enjoy it, but the regeneration side of it is easily the worst part. That the way they handle that is horrendous.
Yeah.
But, and, that's the start of the goddamn story, so, getting off to a really bad start there.
I've seen this before. So I imagine those effects get updated in the Blu-ray? Do they?
Graphic design is my passion.
Oh, look at that, it's a gay rainbow.
Yas. No,
go.
iconic queen.
Leave the girl. It's the man I want.
It's the man I want.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yas.
Dun, dun.
Yas, mama gay.
Dun, dun, dun. Dun, dun, dun. Dun, 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 dun.
Oh, I love those plonky synthy keyboards. I love Kef McCulloch. Or how do you say his goddamn name?
Of course, this is Kef McCulloch's debut.
And now with this...
Oh man, it's so
Those
camp.
asteroid, like... Now, I mentioned last time, like, that the Colin titles made me think of, like, Entering a City. You know those asteroids that fly in to, like, the McCoy sequence? They always make me think of, like, flying diapers. I don't know why.
That's a good point. Makes me think of paper mache. Probably because it is.
Oh, look at that terrible logo. I love it.
Well, it's probably the correct tone. Let's just say that.
Oh, look at her. She is so fabulous.
Seal it and label it.
Dom and sub.
I will
that was
step
neat.
on your balls.
Einstein.
What?
So yeah, she kidnapped Einstein.
I find your incompetence more than enough without listening to your puerile opinions. Unless they're kept in prime condition, you'll have more than the miserable skin of this creature to worry about.
Have you managed to procure the means to repair your laboratory equipment?
Oh, yes.
She just, like,
Indeed I have.
I love her.
sweats sass out
I
of
love her. I love her. She's so good. Anyway. Sylvester in Colin's
More than
costume.
the
Now
miserable
that's
skin of this creature.
now that's an imagery. Oh, they play. Kef McCulloch's played the Doctor Who theme. This is so cringe. Oh, it reminds me of the Timeless Children. No.
Yeah, 80s Who does that a lot, doesn't it?
Where am I? Who am I? And who are you?
The Rani! Stay back!
This is idiotic.
And of course he
You're
falls
injuring
over.
yourself. Are you prepared to abandon walking in case you squash an insect underfoot?
Stay away! Whatever you brought me here for, I'm having no part of it!
I'll deal with you later.
Oh, it's this music.
Oh, I...
Oh, is this a Tetran?
Yep.
Oh my god! What?
Oh no, glitter, my one weakness. I'm like Kesha.
Right.
The party don't start till I walk in.
I'm in my umbrella.
Do you think this is the first Doctor Who story that saw the light of day after Patty Tratty's demise?
After Robert Holmes's demise. Well, technically, season
Yeah.
23, but you know what I mean in terms of writing.
I am so sassy.
What is that running?
It's like Sonic.
I feel like I'm watching a 3D side scroller.
It's like Sonic the Hedgehog. I love this so much. It's so bad.
What? my god, that's amazing. I don't know what just happened.
Mel hasn't even said anything yet, and she's got someone killed.
Oh, now it's like really. Oh my god! That was like really melancholic and sad. Jesus. The
I
tone.
love the tonal whiplashing of this.
Of amnesia.
Oh no, I don't like looking at needles. Fuck that. No. No.
God.
Ugh. He looks like he's got a hangover.
Who are you?
Oh no, not this. I forgot about this. She's doing an impression of Bonnie Langford as well.
You remind me of someone I used to know. When I was there.
Doctor, this machine, it has to be repaired, and you're the...
Rani's not doing well. Keeping composure.
You know, it's hilarious in, like, retrospect, because Modern Who invents things like, you know, the perception filter or stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, in these good old days, you just have to put on a wig and clothes and try your best.
This is really poorly ADR'd.
This also might be the ugliest quarry to ever appear in Doctor Who.
Made you think I was in league with them?
You're not Lacertian. You don't belong on this planet.
Then they're human. Like me.
No, not like you. Although almost as hideous.
Oh, Jesus, man.
Mop my brow.
what the fuck? That's an interesting looking spoon. Oh yes, of course, the spoons.
For every convention until the end of time, Sylvester McCoy talks about that time when he played the spoons on Kato Mara's front. When I went to a convention, he talked about it there as well.
You know how one of the things of 80s Who is having question marks on the attire? With Sylvester's post-regenerative trauma, his entire character is just one big question mark. Those are the themes of Time in the Rani, folks.
Oh, I love them. I love the music. It's so bad.
It's like 16-bit. Yeah, now we're in a horror film. Oh, what is that? Yeah. Few vitamins to start the day.
You don't understand regeneration, Mel. It's a lottery, and I've drawn the short plank.
See, this would be so much better if the Seventh Doctor was actually aware that it was the Rani, and he was just playing her along, you know, until he drops the pin on her. You know what I mean? That, like, in terms of like him choosing not to drink the water, it's because he knows it's poisoned. Oh, here we go. Bit of Tetrap action.
Dun 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 dun.
Imagine if Kef McCulloch stayed for New Who because they couldn't get Murray Gold or something. Why it's just...
We spent all the budget on that skeleton.
It's being very hand-wavy about that, you know, dead skeleton.
Oh, so much sitcom energy.
Doesn't look right without a horse.
It's cringe.
I need something more dignified. Time Lordish.
University?
Bad puns.
Not frilled.
Oh.
How's that? Would that bowl have made Nova?
Wouldn't be 80s Who without references. What was that? A fucking cracking glass?
Yes, yes, yes.
There we go. Oh.
Absence makes the nose grow longer.
Oh. Fucking hell. What? It's like pinball.
Flapping her
What a-
arms about like a bird.
It's quite the cliffhanger. Well then.
So, what's your thoughts so far?
I'm kind of speechless, honestly. Well, we don't even start. It's just so... The worst thing about it is the fact that the Doctor is made to look really stupid. I get that he's going through, you know, post-regenerative shit, but I think this is too far.
Yeah.
And I think, like what I pitched, I think if it was him genuinely messing around with the Rani, pretending that he had that issue, that would have been a lot more interesting.
Yeah. It's as we were talking, as you mentioned earlier, with like the Pip and Jane Baker naivety, that is on full display here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Kato Mara's
like,
great.
Someone died. Oops.
So Kato Mara was great when she was the Rani, but then they made her pretend to be Mel, and it's just like, okay. I'm a bit half on Sylvester because I think he's charming as a presence, but I also think the things he does and the things he says are really dumb.
Like the mixed metaphor thing, but the pratfalling is no.
Yeah, there's also that bit at the start where it's like
puns.
the Rani is collecting geniuses. That was a part of it at the start.
Yeah, that does come into play later. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. And then I think the weirdest thing for me is that whole side plot with Mel and the whatever those people are called. The ones that the Rani bullied.
The Lacurtians.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there was like this whole misunderstanding that they thought Mel was on the opposite side because they saw the TARDIS land. I think that's actually fine. It's just the whole execution of it was so tonally weird how it's like you got this crazy 16-bit Kef McCulloch video game music playing over running, chasing, and then going into a trap that explodes, turns into a floating marble bubble, and then hits the side of a rock and blows up. And then it instantly goes to like fucking one of them being dead on the floor, on the ground, I should say, as a skeleton, and they're like, it's super melancholic and mournful.
There's more of that. There's more of the melancholy later, actually. Just so you know, the tonal whiplashing isn't over. So
this is pretty crazy.
This is whack.
Yeah, I definitely think this story would be a lot. I definitely think this story would be a lot better if it wasn't a post-regeneration story as well. I think it's holding it down massively.
Yeah, that is easily the worst part of the story. I think that how they deal with the sixth regeneration is just awful. But like if you cut that out, it's honestly just. It's all over the fucking place, but like, you know what I mean? When like, I know I've only seen like 1/4 of it so far, but like, it's got, God, I'm gonna sound like certain people now, but it's so chaotic, so bizarre. I can't help. It just puts a smile on my face. I can't help it. I can't hate it.
Yeah.
It's too batshit.
Yeah. Yeah, and the comedy is definitely cringe. It's so on the nose.
Yeah.
Old hat. Not frilled.
Not frilled. And he makes like a bowl, like a. And he makes a cricket pun, and then there's like a glass smash sound effect. It's like.
I think the something that really annoys me is that Sylvester is trying to do his slapstick physical comedy, but the problem is the direction isn't capturing it right. So it's not actually.
Oh yeah.
It's not the camera work and the editing and the blocking all together isn't appropriate for the kind of comedy he's trying to do, and it just makes him look embarrassing, as opposed to being slapstick in the way that he's intending. Like a lot of his slapstick that he would have done before Doctor Who, the way that the whole thing is edited and directed is designed to cater to that, but because it's this, it just makes him like it's like the camera's pointing and shooting at him, and it's just watching him fall down, and it's really silly and awkward.
Yeah.
And, like, awkwardly executed.
But, you know, we still got 3 more episodes to go, and I'm fascinated by where we're going. I mean, I already know where we're going next, but, like, it'll be interesting to see how you react to where we're going next. I sound like Moffat right now. Like, you're going to be so fucking, like, astounded by how damn clever this
Yeah,
is.
I also really, really don't like how easily the Rani is, like, almost breaking her disguise. Like, when the Doctor's a little bit suspicious, her whole face screws up. It's, like, really weird.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Scooby-Doo level of, like, uh-oh, have I been caught? Like, yeah.
Yep.
But again, that's just the Pip and Jane Baker style.
Mm-hmm.
They were too pure for this world.
It's trying to be a cartoon, but because it's live action, it's too tangible and it has the BBC languid, you know, production style, and so it doesn't quite mesh well with what it's trying to do. I feel like this would be a lot better if it was like an over the top animation, you know, like a Hanna-Barbera style thing. It would be a lot more fitting of what they're trying to do. Even then, though, it's still some of it's really awkward. Should we get to part 2?
Shall we jump onto part? Hell yeah!
Okay.
Get into that shit with unrestrained gusto.
Yes. Also, the one other thing I wanted to comment, there's a lot of arse shots in episode 1. Like, there's Sylvester in pretending to be the Sixth Doctor. And then there's lots of them of Mel, there's lots of them of Tetrap arse. There's, like, it's just a lot of rare shots of characters in this one. There's one of bloody Einstein with his legs bent up. Like he's about to, you know. Oh, anyway. Very strange. It's like Hammer horror music.
See, now we know why she had to go to that companion, like, therapy support group.
Yeah. Oh my god, imagine her telling all of them about this. Well, you could call that... Would you call that plot armor? Lands on the water, conveniently?
And we did see puddles earlier, but that's a bit of a big puddle, isn't it?
I mean, there's much worse plot armor in the other Body Langford episode that she appears in much more recently.
Oh, now she's suddenly on the bank.
No, this is the first time. And Mel, if you don't stop squawking, it'll be the last.
If he don't stop squawking. Oh, that was an interesting cut. That was actually quite creative. Well done.
Yeah.
Instead of the Dr. Donner, it's the Rani Mel.
Sterile mind. There's not one spark of decency in her.
I'm overwhelmed.
Such superior diagnostic talents.
That's my fault.
Well, it's a pity they can't be concentrated on the machine.
God, that fourth
Oh my
wall.
gosh. Again, the camera cuts just don't capture the humor properly.
Yeah. Oh, this is fun. This is like an edit. It's like a YouTube edit. Just like boing.
Mel's muffled scream sounds so funny.
Why was the Rani dressed like you, Mel?
Perhaps she's fashion.
Oh my god.
You're going to be much longer in there, Doctor.
Afraid so, more hasta las vista.
Very sitcom.
Fucks.
Now I know why Chibnall likes it. It's very sitcom.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, if the Chibnall era were actually like Time in the Rani, it would actually be entertaining. So.
Yeah, that's a good point. Although I don't know if it could capture the production values. Because the Chibnall era's production values are actually really expensive.
Oh, like Kev's music, man, it's so fake. It's so fake.
It's very plastic.
Obvious synth violin.
I mean, a Mellotron, right, came out 20 years before this. At least. Mellotron is fake, but it sounds better than Keith McCulloch.
Mellotron, eh? See what you did there.
There we go. Yeah, this music. Oh, here we go. Here's the moment. Here's the moment. What?
Spray it with sparks and glitter.
She's so frozen in fear. Oh my god.
Her could have made such a fundamental mistake.
That was very Tenant there.
No one. Kef. Done.
That bit with McCoy from before reminded me of that bit in Forest of the Dead at the end with Tenant. And he's like, "Oh, I am very good."
Yes. Memory like an elephant. A running gag.
Oh my god.
Applied to you, I feel sure, Mel.
This is going over the top. This is too far in the like memory jokes. Yeah, but this music is like straight out of RuneScape. It really is. This sounds like the Draenor Manor theme. Yeah,
sci-fi.
Yeah, he is very Tenant. He is very Tenant, isn't he?
Oh, that's good.
Man.
Mel. Try doing a Tenant McCoy impression.
I'd love to see a serious dramatic actor like David Tennant in this story. That'd be great. I reckon he'd enjoy it, honestly. I think David Tennant could pull off this because he'd feel like a fish out of water. If you get what I mean.
I can see what you mean.
As an actor.
I asked you a question.
Did you? Mel, there's something caged in there.
Yes, I dare say. Would
I love how we've all dodged the obvious question of where the fuck did the Rani get these, like, exact Mel clothes from? Does she have, like, a Tetrap tailor? Like...
Maybe Anthony Ainley's master told her about the trial of a Time Lord.
Mel.
P.S. No, not so good. It's a petroleum-based plastic.
slightly amber, almost opaque.
Petroleum-based plastic sounds like Keith McCulloch's music.
I see what Dimmy means about this being, like, McCoy's costume, but the elements are a bit bad. Because, like, the jumper is tucked inside his trousers and with the suspenders over the top, and that looks really bad.
Oh, you know, tucking a jumper inside trousers is just illegal.
I'm glad to see you, Icona. Although I shouldn't be.
That was a very, very sexual touch there. She's very emotional.
Heirs can save the rest of us from destruction.
Oh, he didn't save her, did he?
It's Bonnie! Run!
You saw what happened too, Icona?
This is so funny.
She's such a delicate person.
They
like broke the number one standard in all of film and television is the camera in focus. And they couldn't even get that right. Oh, is she crying? Oh my gosh, these fucking buckets are coming out. Jesus.
This story is all over the fucking place. I love it so much. Oh, this is the one scene that doesn't have any dialogue.
My God.
It's probably his best piece of characterization in the whole story, honestly.
It's just Sylvester McCoy being Sylvester McCoy is all it is. I love the Tetraps. They're so stupid. Their like growl noise is so overwhelmingly like surround sound, if you know what I mean.
I see what you mean, yeah.
Oh no!
Oh no! The Rani got Keshed.
Where's Mel?
Where's the doctor?
What have you done with her?
Stay away from me! What have you done with the doctor?
Oh my goodness!
Oh,
Incidentally, that wig's not you.
I actually quite like that. That was good.
Swivel!
All right, compromise. Let me feel your pulse.
Don't touch me!
Ah, the proof of the pumpkin's in the squeezing.
You don't even talk like the doctor, you miserable fraud. A double pulse. Then you really are the doctor.
That's what I've been trying to tell you.
Unless he's a different Time Lord.
I know about regeneration, of course.
Yeah, like, the logic of this is really dumb.
But you're completely different.
Fangirls when they watch Deep Breath.
Doesn't bode well for my 7th persona.
Oh, yeah, well, I don't know about that. Chris Chibnall has something to say about that.
The fascination's mutual. She's reserved this one for you.
That's kind of nice, though. She understands the Doctor's intelligence.
With a unique conceptual understanding of the properties of time.
Plays with her nose. I mean, he knows how to make some catchy beats, Mr. Kef. Like I'm in a disco.
Oh, nice to see that she got her clothes cleaned after rolling about in the mud.
Now he's pretending.
You know, don't you? But your usefulness is not yet over. You have another.
I've waited for this. I want the real Rani. Oh! No, that was very cartoon right there. The way he skittered around that corner. Oh no! Okay. I liked part 2 a lot more than part 1. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
On the whole.
I mean,
I actually
don't
think
know if like is the
it's... Well,
I was just saying, I don't know
because
if like is the right word, but I enjoy it.
well, because the thing is with this, they actually it was when they got to the bit where the real Mel finds the Doctor again, and she doesn't know who he is, and he doesn't know who she is. That was actually a really interesting way of dealing with that dilemma.
Yeah,
I just found
like
that sort of that process of them like realizing who each other are is like really adorable. It's really funny.
Yeah. I mean the sort of the state of affairs themselves are really contrived, obviously, because like the Rani's Mel disguise is really not very good, and the Doctor's amnesia, had to be enforced on him. But despite those circumstances, I think the process of them realizing that it's each other is kind of sweet.
Mm-hmm.
It is something very unique to them as well.
The tetraps. The tetraps are so funny. They're like these three-eyed beasts from like some cartoon. And the growl that they make is the way it's done in the sound design. It's like surround sound. It's crazy how like intense the sound is when they're in the room.
Yeah.
And yeah, and there's a lot of like silly camp, and there's also that really melodramatic female character. From the I don't know what they're called, like the things that have the big seahorse feathers, not feathers, fur, whatever you call that. Lacurtions, that's it. Yeah. Is that really? Yeah, she's really tender and delicate.
It's like, oh no,
Very
my daughter
heartbroken.
died in a ridiculously over-the-top way.
Yeah. Oh, although what I will say is the way that Mel survived nearly dying at the start was very dumb. Like really dumb. But yeah, I think on the whole, I think I do prefer part 2 because part 1 is just so... The way it handles the post-regeneration stuff in part 1 is just so tragic. It's still not very good, but I definitely enjoyed that one a lot more than the first part because it had some... There was actually a couple of moments that I thought were genuinely quite nice. Although, we're halfway through the story already, and it's barely developed. Like, it's done a little bit, but it's
the biggest thing about it so far is how tonally fucked it is. It is.
Oh yeah, God, yeah.
Can you think of a story that goes so dramatically from one tone to the other in such a jarring way?
New Earth's a bit like that. Maybe not quite on this level, but some bits are very jarring. Like, you know how it goes from the scene of the Cassandra being in the Doctor's body making fun of cats, then the cat hilariously falls down the massive drop, and it's so incredibly camp, and then right after
she's like, oh no, I was inside her head and it was so sad.
Yeah. There's also that bit earlier where there's like two tones at the same time. You got these insanely cartoonish zombies going, and then you've got the 10th Doctor be just like, how many have died down here? How many are diseased? It's all very serious.
Yeah, this is on that level.
Yeah.
This is on that level, maybe more, because...
Well, this is not... Because this has tonal whiplash in the direction, and it has tonal whiplash in the music.
Imagine being jump scared by Kev McCulloch.
Yeah, the one thing that's so disappointing about the story that I think would make it so much better to watch is if the direction was handled better. Like, the camera work needs to capture the camp and the cartoony thing it's going for to actually be fitting of it. Like, the actors are doing what the story needs them to do for the most part, but it's the camera work that needs to capture it properly to really create the tone that it wants. And that's the most disappointing thing for me about this, is that I wish the camera work could actually...
they're doing these like hyper-exaggerated actions while the camera's just sort of like standing in the corner, just matter-of-factly capturing all of it rather than actually like engaging in the fun.
Yeah, like, do you remember especially I mean, I've already said stuff like Hanna-Barbera cartoon, whatever, that's great, but do you remember the sequence from It's a Sin where Richie Tozer goes around all the bars and basically does a big gay presentation? In all the nightlife. Like, that kind of thing would be really fitting of a story like this, where it's all done to the audience, I guess you could say. It's like a big presentation.
Something like Moulin Rouge, almost, where they sort of really engage in the camp. Yeah, I see what you mean by that.
And also, this is quite expensive, and probably at the time they couldn't afford it, but you know those tracking shots from the mutants when they're running down corridors, like something like that Chris Barry did would be really fitting of the running scenes in this story, like doing lots of tracking shots of like following them as they're running. You get what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of shots of like Bonnie Langford just running across that ugly quarry while the camera just limply follows her.
Yeah, I know, but
it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I just feel like it would work better if you use more tracking shots. Make it really action packed and really intense, and very like close in on the characters and all the like their faces and everything. Like, you need lots of that for this to work.
Yeah,
because it is going for a very sort of style over substance cartoon, but it's not using the camera in a way to really benefit what it wants. Yeah, I think my favourite scene is the one where Mel and the Doctor finally meet up again. That was actually really cool for what it was.
Now, my favourite scene is where the Doctor does the look over there routine, and the Rani actually fucking falls for it, and he ties her up with a skull.
Oh yeah, that's so funny. And then she just awkwardly gets like falls over and goes, ah!
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
See, I could see why like Pertwee era and like Hinchcliffe era fans would despise this, because you would not see this in that time period. Even something like the Time Monster, something really campy, would somehow still not reach this. Like,
yeah. Also, with Mel, right? Whenever she has to be involved in the plot, it gets really annoyingly tedious, because she has to constantly like rattle off all this stuff that they're doing, or it's just lots of running around and screaming. Although the screaming, especially the scream at the tetrap, was hilarious. But it's when she's actually allowed to stop and be a character for a second and not worry about the situation that she's actually quite likable. It's just the fucking... It's the fact that the story has her having to constantly be on high alert.
Yeah.
You know?
And has to exposit shit, like... Oh, I saw your daughter running across...
I like that bit where she was hiding behind a rock and then she interrupted a conversation.
That woman was crying, but it made her look like someone just chucked a bucket on her face and like just like, right, roll the camera.
It kind of brought me back to you know at the you know how Peter Capaldi can't do fake crying, like he's not very good at it. So in, like the end of Face the Raven, he has those big tears running down his face. Except that's way more serious than this, like in terms of tone.
Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, Clara. And you got Murray Gold's
they
very,
had Kev McCulloch.
Orchestral.
Oh, if only Face the Raven had Kev McCulloch just like plodding.
Yeah,
on the keyboard,
when the Raven is going towards Clara, it goes. Someone needs to do that.
Or like when they're crying over each other, she's like, "Goodbye, Doctor." It just plays that. Like kind of those piercing, like high pitched, like notes. Anyway, shall we continue with this fantastic story?
Yeah, we're already halfway through. It's crazy. Yeah, like the actual like meat of the plot is so background, isn't it?
Yeah, like the Rani has a plan going on, like with geniuses and something behind a door, which I know what it is. I won't tell you yet though. But like, it's kind of background to just all the shenanigans.
Yeah. It's also got the Doctor Who trope of, you know, two different factions of people and tribalism, you know. That is part of it.
Yeah.
But the thing is the tetraps, they're just so silly. They're just so silly.
They just sort of like... They sort of jump scare you and have glitter guns, and that's about it.
Oh yeah, the glitter guns. And they have exploding marble things that fly up and bounce like a pinball.
Yeah, I like that. That's probably the best way to die.
The gayest way to die.
I know. Oh, hell yeah. Well, I mean, the Sixth Doctor literally died in a rainbow, like, while crashing down, so...
That's right, he did. Yeah. I think that is one detail I do like about the story, is that the Lycurgians, they assume that they are aligned with the Tetraps because of them landing the way that they did at the start. That is actually something that they did well. I'm giving praise where I can. It's very minimal.
Oh yeah, because it's a camp cake.
And then, there's the nappies.
Hey, there's the nappies. The cosmic nappies.
It's crazy because throughout this calendar, I've been like reacting to Game of Thrones a lot. I mean, I've seen it before, but I've been reviewing it. It's so weird to go from that to Time in the Rani.
Also, I just realised that the TARDIS is technically in its own bubble trap now.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is it going to explode on the side of a mountain? Like a pinball? I feel like Sylvester McCoy is just frustratedly making the same points over and over again. Just, oh, she has an asteroid and there's nothing behind that door.
I love this whole... that whole set with the triangular thing, and people running around it.
Yeah.
It's a fake saxophone.
Oh, he dabbed as he ran. Though he does dab again.
This fake saxophone is very farty. that's a very
Literally, she pressed that with so much emphasis for it to be the lamest sounding alarm in the world.
Oh, here we go. Oh no!
You know where?
Like a stiff plank. Licked her behind the ear like a dog. Oh, hello there.
Oh my god.
Is this like a BDSM club or something? Or like a swingers bar?
This is the funky tune I told you about.
Center of leisure.
Center
of indolence.
Get it, guys? Drugs and sex are bad. Oh my goodness.
Killer insects. Come on, Doctor.
What? What are those green dots supposed to be?
Killer insects. Oh, he dabbed again.
Right. Dabbed to death.
Going on about Mel.
Ah, it's fake.
A hologram, as substantial as a Rani's scruples.
See? See, all this time she could have just made a hologram of Mel, and yet she decided to dress up as her. Like,
Wow.
the story just kind of, like, tore itself open a plot hole, but okay.
Deary me. I like the way he just threw his hat on the ground.
Like, oh, it's a trap.
This is them talking about... This is Twitter executives right now with Elon Musk. The computer needs constant monitoring. I shall not miss the solstice.
Something I'd call humanity.
Huh. You're as sentimental as he is. Get on with your work.
Don't antagonize her. She has only to press a button for every incursion to be extended.
Like I just relived every kids show of ever. He's got qualities you'll never have. Humanity.
It wasn't
Oh my god, you have feelings? How weak of you.
Did you crawl out of the womb just going...
Like a motorbike.
Done! Dun dun dun! 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 Imagine a drinking game where you have to, like, take a shot every time it goes done.
Oh, you'd be dead.
Oh no! Dabbing.
We have been expecting you.
We've been expecting you. God.
Oh, I love the really fake dramatic music.
He didn't have to bend his knees because he's not tall. This music is so RuneScape. It's crazy. I'm surprised Hugh hasn't mentioned this to you before.
Bum, 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 bum. So the Rani has a giant brain.
It's like Planet of the Ood. This music is straight out of RuneScape, 100%. Especially the da 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 da.
Thud, 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 thud. Oh, you got a cliffhanger coming out, so you've got to get Bonnie, like, belting. Belting out another screamer.
It reminds me of Mr. Bean. I mean, what I can say about part 3 is it's definitely the most serious one so far. Like it's really it is really focused on. Yeah, I mean it's still got the silly tet traps like the Doctor, we've been expecting you, like that sort of thing.
And the
but
really
I mean in terms of
comical, like, yeah. Oh, in terms of plot.
But in terms of plot and in terms of like the Rani's plan finally coming in and the Doctor finding actually that door that he wants to know what's behind it, it's actually been opened, and we find out it's a big brain, and why the Rani is trying to get understanding of time by, I guess, what was it? Trying to absorb the knowledge of all these geniuses?
Yeah, or something.
Like an accumulative knowledge.
And she's trying to get it in time with this solstice, which will... I don't know if she said it yet, or if it's going to be mentioned in part 4, but it's when the asteroid will come sweeping by, or something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So she's got this big equation together. Now I understand why she says, leave the girl, it's the man I want. Because she wants the Doctor's knowledge. That's nice to have that answered. Apart from that, it's still got Kef McCulloch's like fake RuneScape music. With really high tempo and loud there was that hilarious scene where the Doctor got tricked by a hologram and threw his hat on the ground.
And they also went to like a porn room.
Oh yeah, the bloody the bloody the bloody sex club that had the insects attack them.
It was, oh god. Mel screams. I think she's screamed in all episodes so far, and I don't think she's done yet. So.
Yeah, I mean, that Lacursion character was just like, look at this leisure bar. How dare these people relax and enjoy themselves? Ugh, what an utter pity. They're not contributing to our society at all.
It's like, maybe you're the asshole, dude. But, you know. And then you've got like Veruca being like, oh, why must you work with her? And then her husband is like, oh, but if we just help her along her way, we can get back to normal. It's like, your daughter just fucking died, my guy. There is no normal anymore.
See, apologies if there's anyone with that name out there, but Veruca is one of my least favourite first names. It's such a yucky name. Veruca. Yeah, apart from that, I can't, my memory's a bit faded. There's a lot happened in part 3, I can say that much. It was very eventful.
It's just, that's just the effect of this story. It does a bunch of stuff, and then when you try summarizing it once it's done, it's a bit...
There's a lot of vacuous action scenes, I'll say that much.
Yeah. Wow, it really is like Chibnall here. Okay, no.
Oh yeah, it really. No, that's not too far. Let's shit on him. Still, keep shitting on him. Remain shitting on him.
That's valid. But yeah, I've got part 4 up.
Yep,
I don't know.
I reckon we should. I think maybe you'll have more to say once we actually have seen the full story.
Nappies. Oh no, the TARDIS is in its own tet trap. Oh, that's why they're called tet traps. Because they have traps.
I feel like there's a transphobic joke in there somewhere. Whoa, that McCoy face was not rendered properly.
Yeah.
In this one.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty bad.
But unfortunately, the guy who did the RuneScape music, Ian Taylor, is a nonce.
Oh. They should get Kef McCulloch instead. To think this is what
I feel
Mel
like,
trauma.
You know what? I think you know what? I think I can describe it. Time in the Rani. Watching Time in the Rani, with the story and with the music and the way it's done and everything, it's like being inside a pinball machine. That's what it feels like, and that's fitting given that there are those pinball things earlier in the story that blow up.
Yeah. I like that description I mentioned earlier of it being like a camp cake. Just layers of camp.
Imagine Imagine being a tetrap and having vision all around your head. That would be weird. Like, what would it look like? Being able to see everything in a circle.
We keep seeing POV shots of theirs, so maybe that's it, like with the overlaying angles. That time a tetrap tongued me. That was so bad.
It made me freeze up. It made me freeze up like a cum sock.
That time I accidentally ran into a little girl and then she ran the opposite direction and fell into a pinball and died.
It's so like Mr. Bean.
This is what you McCoy stands say is so deep.
I know. This is the moment that he becomes a Machiavellian. Actually, it's this scene.
Ah, well, every dogma has its day.
It is stated in the special.
It's the doctor corrupting the brain with all this chaos.
Yeah.
Oh, damn! Oh my god, her nose piercing just flashed for a second. It's like when Dudley falls into the snake pit.
A cerebral mass, capable of dominating and controlling time anywhere in the cosmos.
See, we see where Chris Chibnall gets his love for exposition from.
This monstrosity.
That's pretty major. Glitter!
To help the Lacurtians help themselves for once. Remove the bangles.
Haven't you?
Don't.
Oh damn, that is some fabulous lighting.
What is it you want me to do?
First, see if there's anyone in there. Mel, hold on to the stumps.
Pumps.
It's funny because he gets words wrong. Ha ha.
I must sacrifice myself. No, don't do it. I must. Okay, bye. One of those.
This is very
scenarios
timeless
again.
children. Remember Koshamas?
Yeah. Yeah, we see why Chris Chibnall loves this story so much now.
Mm.
And then he replicates it, but with none of the camp charm.
That's right. I
I
think we're onto something. Chris Chibnall's not very good at writing Doctor Who. Just a thought? Just an idea?
God, this is such a beat. Imagine flexing to this. Like in the club. In the club? In the gym.
Four.
Oh yeah, he dabs again now.
Oh yeah.
For no man.
Who's waiting? I'm ready.
I'm sick of those puns. They're just so annoying.
Certainly gonna take.
Ah.
Okay.
So,
Yes,
that was your first ever exposure to
Simon the
that.
Rani. Yeah.
Was it everything you thought it would be, and more?
Little bit. Maybe. I think maybe I've got so much tolerance for camp these days that some of it wasn't as surprising as I thought. But, you know.
Yeah.
I think the main plot kind of teetered out, didn't it?
Oh yeah, I sometimes forget the story even has a plot. It's like so it's like the plot is secondary to all just the insanity. But yeah, imagine watching something like, I don't know, like The Web of Fear and then Dalek, and then between those two you watch this. You just see the extremes that this show goes to.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly a story, let's just say that. I think I've got even
you go
less to
first,
say
Paul?
about this than I did. I think I've got even less to say about this one than I do about Time Lash, because like Time Lash
We
actually
already
tries to go
explained.
for something. Time Lash actually goes for something in its plot, but its plot is absolutely ridiculous. With the whole, you know,
Like,
trying to reproduce the Perry thing, and then the whole "you are fucking ugly, you will now die," you know, that sort of thing.
I mean, this plot, like, the Rani's ultimate plan to control evolution, like that is an interesting idea, but that's literally the extent of where it goes. Like,
Yeah.
like, okay, she wants to control evolution.
There was a lot of exposition. There was certainly a lot of exposition. There was a lot of vacuous action scenes. But I think that, like, if this wasn't camp, it would be torture to watch. But because it's so camp and so insanely over the top, and it's got that Kef McCulloch music, and it's got bright colors and loud screaming, and, you know,
Sylvester McCoy,
slapstick
like,
acting.
trying his best. Yeah, Sylvester McCoy trying his best, but, like, the production is just betraying him.
And
Bonnie
like the tet
Langford,
traps.
Bonnie Langfording.
The tet traps, tet trapping.
You got these really
Yeah,
dramatic actors like trying to look sad with like water chucked on their face and like yellow makeup and scales.
I think my genuinely my least favorite thing from an entertainment point of view about the story is the puns. The Seventh Doctor puns are just unbearable. They're so cringe. When he gets words wrong and then he gets corrected. I hate it. I hate it so much. But yes, this is the origin story for the, you know, the Machiavellian Doctor.
Yeah. This is where your boy comes from, everyone. All you McCoy simps.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just. I think my
like,
my biggest disappointment with this story is the direction. This story could have been so much fun if they had shot it in a different way.
Yeah, and like narrative wise, you know, the Doctor's a real like naive imbecile in it. The Rani, I mean, why does she have to go to the effort of disguising herself if she has like holograms or whatever? Okay. And then like obviously the regeneration thing is handled like disgustingly bad, but to be fair, that's I think that's literally just the production team being handed like the cards they were given.
Yeah, that's the worst thing about Time in the Rani is it's a really piss poor post regeneration story.
Yeah, and a terrible like as a start to an era, it's pretty no, but like
it's a weird one to it is a weird story to have as a debut, but it is a really strange choice to have it to be this one.
Yeah, but unlike despite that, unlike a lot of like other like hardcore classic Who snobs, like, you know, like Dylan or like others, I can't really say any because I don't really remember who else hates this story, but like
there's a lot of people that hate this story.
Yeah, but for some reason I can't get there. I love it too much to hate it, even though it is dreadful.
Yeah,
it's just.
I mean, the whole
so good.
Changing evolution thing is. It's a really interesting idea. The way it's handled is so simple, though, isn't it? It's just I think the dinosaurs ruling Earth is so much more better than humans. And then McCoy is just like, but what about all these lovely people from history? They would never exist, and that they're also there in the story, like Einstein and all that. It's you know that's some merit, I guess.
Again, it's a very
this is so
Pip
like
and Jane thing.
Yeah, but this kind of thing has been handled better in other stories. You know, like the Time Meddler, for example, does that like superlatively.
Oh yeah, with actual drama.
But also, but also the Time Meddler doesn't make it as insanely huge in terms of how much would change. You know, with the Time Meddler, it's just purely one country wins a war instead of another. as opposed to literally the entire of Earth's history becomes dinosaurs and not humans. And then also what she wants to do to Lacurgia as well.
It really is that Spider-Man meme, isn't it? Where like there's a Spider-Man comic panel where it's like, but with your scientific prowess, you could cure cancer, and then that villain is just like, but I don't want to cure cancer. I want to turn people into dinosaurs.
Yeah,
that's the Rani. That's the Rani in this.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, I mean, I guess I like the element of the Doctor entering the brain caused schizophrenia. That was a good moment.
Yeah, it was kind. It's very cartoonish story.
There's a story under there. There's a Doctor Who story buried under this. Like it is there. It's not completely missing. It's just so camp, so cartoony, so light. And I think it's trying way too hard to be the opposite of the Colin Baker era. I think that's the problem, is that it's trying to remove the bite as much as it can. And by doing that, it kind of removes the reality from it. You know, it doesn't feel like a real story because it's removing so much of its actual, you know,
and yet there's also so much brutality in it as well. Like, people die in like weird like pinball explosions and from bug bites, and yet it and with these really like dramatic mourning like scenes, and yet the music and like everything is still so chipper.
Yeah, that's so true.
Like, dun 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 dun. Oh, and Kef, my man. I don't know how you got the job, but
His music is so distracting because I want to listen to it and then not pay attention to the story, and that's bad. I don't want to not pay attention to the story. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't enhance the story. It just makes you want to hear the music and not think about the story, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, I'm finding it, I'm like, no, Kef, stop. I'm trying to pay attention to what's happening, but you're interrupting it with this beat. You know what I mean?
Being really like annoyingly funky for no reason. Like when that countdown started happening, it was like dun 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 dun.
Kef McCulloch is the kind of person where you have like a moment of silence in church and then he starts playing a beat under it.
Fuck hell. I mean, he already kicked off the story in a spectacular way, considering.
That's true. Yeah.
This might be probably the least we've had.
There's also not many. There's not that many characters either, is there? Like it's very low on characters. Anyway, what are you gonna say?
The Doctor, the Rani, Mel, a couple of Lacurtians, and like a lead tetrap or two, I guess. Like...
And that quarry is just everywhere. There's so much quarry.
I think this might be the story that we go the least in depth about, because going in depth makes it worse. I think.
Yeah, but it's annoying because when we went in depth on Time Lash, it made it worse in a really interesting way. Whereas in this one, it just kind of exposes how hollow it is.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Time Lash is hollow. I think Time Lash is an actual story with a lot of stuff in it. It's just not very well handled. Whereas this is just so hollow.
Yeah. Like, what is entertaining about this story is the framework. It's not really the story itself. Which I guess in a way does make it as bad as Chibnall Who, because that seems to be the entertainment value of Chibnall Who to an extent, where like the framework is what entertains people, like the energy and the effects and stuff. But I guess what gives it a different dimension here is the fact that it's older and looks more dated. It's cheesier.
Well, it's interesting because a review from the Time said they praised the direction as visually impressive. Which is interesting. I don't think visually impressive is the direction that I wanted from this story, though. What I wanted was something really dynamic.
Yeah. I want to know what Kate O'Mara was offered to do, like, at the same time as this.
Yeah. I think it has to be said, this story has a lot of really bad dialogue. It's just so...
Oh god, yeah.
So cringe. I prefer it to Chris Chibnall dialogue, but it's not far off.
Oh yes.
because with Chris Chibnall's dialogue, it's so much worse because of the tone of his era being so drab. But yeah, newly appointed script editor Andrew Cartmel said there were many things he disliked about the script, which he felt lacked depth. He said this was a story that wasn't about anything, and frustratingly, it was McCoy's debut. He also just stated that the scripts were also disliked by other members of the cast and crew, including John Nathan Turner. So that makes sense why Pip and Jane never returned after this.
Yeah. Oh, you're already on the trivia then. Okay. I guess there's nothing else to...
Historical and reception is what I was going through mainly.
All right, that's fair enough.
Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah,
so...
I genuinely have. I genuinely don't really have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, well, I mean,
enjoy it though.
I think it would be. Would you agree that this is probably Pip and Jane's? Oh, I don't know, because Ultimate Foe is a bit of a complicated one because it's Robert Holmes and Pip and Jane. But in terms of the ones that they solely wrote, in terms of the 3 stories that they were actually supposed to do, would you agree this is probably their weakest?
Yes. I think Ultimate Foe is more of a train wreck. Like, it's bad. Ultimate Foe is bad in a different way, whereas Time in the Rani, I don't know. See, I still don't even know if I'd call Time in the Rani genuinely bad, even though, like, it has a lot of really terrible elements.
I think their Ultimate Foe episode, part 2, is really bad in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But that's not, like... I think of Ultimate Foe as more of a Robert Holmes story than a Pip and Jane one, even though they wrote half of it. It's hard to... That's a really hard one to reference, but... I think Time in the Rani is worse than Mark of the Rani and Terror of the Vervoids. I would say that, because I think
I'd agree with that as well.
I think Mark and Terror have more merit to it than this one. But they are also saddled with the thing of having to deal with post-regeneration stuff.
Yeah. Which I don't blame them for, but, you know, you're given the cards you're handed, I guess.
Mm. It's interesting though, because Pip and Jane in the Colin Baker era feel like such an outlier because they are, you know, the Colin Baker era is very dark and
relief.
Camp relief, whereas in Time in the Rani it's both. It's like they are running everything, and it's too much. It's weird though, because Andrew Morgan, who directed the story, he also directed Remembrance of the Daleks as well.
And that looks way better despite some of its problems, but...
Yeah. Remembrance of the Daleks visually is so much better than Time in the Rani. Probably because it has, having a more dynamic and interesting location to work with probably helps with Remembrance of the Daleks. Just Time in the Rani just has so much quarry.
Yeah, because, like, that guy, he has a very exciting, like, direction style, I guess. And it benefits something like Remembrance of the Daleks, which is meant to be an action story. Whereas Time in the Rani, it's not. So, you know, having all these shots of, you know, balls flying everywhere doesn't really enhance anything. But, you know, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah. And obviously, bloody Kath McCulloch. He makes some funky beats. He makes some funky beats, but I think he's a contender for the worst composer in the whole show. I think he's right up there with... I think him, Kerry Blyton is certainly another one that comes to mind. And
yeah.
I think Sega Nakanola, depending on the story. Sometimes he's good, sometimes he's just so dull. Sega Nakanola is weird like because he's more professional than Kev McCulloch, but he's also less interesting in a lot of ways.
Like Kev's music in this story also kind of has a. You said it was distracting earlier. It's kind of like a Murray Gold issue too, to a degree.
Yeah,
Except Murray, as you said, is more professional than Kev.
Well, it's not just about being professional. He's also very like character oriented and very artistic. Kev McCulloch is not artistic at all.
Kev synthesizes a real music, McCulloch.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, because Kev McCulloch's music is fun, but it's so distracting. With something like Kerry Blyton, it's just so nails down the blackboard though. Like some of their music, like the sort of the primary school instruments that they use, it's really annoying. Whereas like that's the issue with Kerry Blyton is all the primary school instruments. Whereas Kev McCulloch uses a soundboard and uses 80s technology on his side, but it makes it sound so plastic and fake.
Yeah, and it just doesn't fit the story anyway. So.
And it's like that was kind of a problem in the late 80s. Is they wanted to use Yamahas and all this new stuff that just would date like bench milk. Whereas if he used like a Mellotron, for example, from the 60s, it would have sounded so much better and it would have aged a lot better.
But it's not cutting edge, so therefore bad.
Yeah. Cutting edge. Oh dear. So the concept of creating a weapon by collecting the minds of all the great thinkers, including the doctors, was also used in the unfinished Sharda. Both stories involve the Doctor using his stolen consciousness to counteract the weapon. I think Sharda handles this idea much better than Time in the Rani.
I mean, that implies Time in the Rani handles anything well, so...
It also benefits from development, given that Sharda is a 6-parter. Certainly is now after the season 17 Blu-ray came out. Loy Hargle is an anagram for Holy Grail. Sharda doesn't have what? I was just
saying Sharda doesn't have sassy, not giving a shit Kato Mara though, does it?
That's
no,
true.
Just...
It has sassy, not giving a shit K9, I guess.
Oh, true.
As he zaps those things.
Zaps those balls. Oh yeah, both stories have balls in them, so...
That's right. But I think my least favourite effect was the insects in the sex club. That was just weird. There wasn't enough of them.
Those were literally just floating neon lights. That, look digital in a stupid 80s way.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Here's a very Chibnall thing. One of the reasons for the story's problems was that Pip and Jane Baker had no idea who would be playing the new Doctor or how he'd be characterized. So that at least when they started to work on the project, the series had no script editor for them to discuss things with.
Yeah, that checks out.
Colin Baker declined to return to his role for the regeneration sequence at the beginning of the story. As a result, Sylvester McCoy donned a wig and the Sixth Doctor's costume and briefly appeared as a body double as the Sixth Doctor, making the it's so obvious because of the effect and the way it's masked. It goes off his eyes a bit and you can see McCoy's face.
Yeah. And also that's a bit of an oversimplification on their part because Colin Colin wanted more than just one scene at the start of a story. And then John Nathan Turner was like, I'll talk with him about it, and then never got back to him.
You know, it's a bit of interesting trivia is Paul McGann played a body double for John Hurt in Night of the Doctor at the end.
Yeah, that's true.
But they photoshopped John Hurt onto his face.
Doctor No More.
IO9.com ranked the Sixth Doctor's death as the second weakest death in science fiction history. Yeah, so is it really implied how he dies? He gets shot, the TARDIS shakes up, and he falls to his death, but somehow Mel doesn't die.
Yeah, because everyone always like sort of infers that he hit his head on something, but the story never actually explains how.
Yeah, the exercise bike thing is purely like a headcanon.
Yeah, he's just dead on the floor, and that's it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you get other things like Spiral Scratch, the novel by Gary Russell, sort of supports that by saying that the Rani shot the TARDIS, and it was basically like a car crash where he just hits his head really hard and dies from the blunt force trauma. Something that Big Finishes, The Brink of Death, says that it's a specific kind of radiation that's only deadly to Time Lords, which is super convenient. But in the story itself, there's nothing. So, yeah.
Apparently, Sylvester McCoy was really, 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 really did not want to wear the question mark jumper. And they made him do it. And it wasn't until the TV movie that he was able to not wear it. It's all because of John Nathan Turner.
He hated... Yeah. All the 80s Doctors hate their costumes, so...
Mainly because of the question mark.
Yeah.
And other things.
Damn John Nathan Turner.
I mean, Chris Chibnall must clearly be a fan of 80s too, because he also gave the Doctor a shit costume.
What other trivia is there?
Sylvester McCoy admitted that it was a regrettable choice to wear braces outside of the pullover, and it said it did injustice to the appearance of his tummy, giving him a bare gut look. For his future stories, the actor instead kept wearing the braces over his shirt and had the pullover over that, as was more traditional. Yeah, I agree. That's what he should have done.
Yeah, that looks way better. And they also this is the one time where he wears the tartan scarf, because it's absent in all the other stories. And he said this at the convention I went to. Apparently, they asked to get rid of it because they didn't want him to be too outwardly Scottish with that tartan. So when they but they made him. He was allowed to choose like what replacement scarf he could have, and so he went for like a paisley scarf because paisleys are like flowers of Scotland or something. So
that's
we are.
Better. It suits him better, I think.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
But he's already got tartan pants, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
well, they're more checkered rather than tartan, but yeah.
Yes, it'll be obviously in season 26 he starts wearing a brown jacket because he's going darker.
I think that looks better on him, honestly. That dark jacket. So
this is the third TV story in the entire show to use a pre-credit sequence, and the first to not use any archive footage for it. So it's the first time they actually filmed a new scene before the title sequence.
Yeah, because 5 Doctors in Castrovalva. Yeah. Obviously, because if they started the story off with the title sequence, everyone would be like, "Wait, what's this new guy's face?" And then they play the regeneration. It would be like, "Oh, I mean, I see."
Technically, Robot does it as well, right?
I don't know.
Is that correct, or is
no,
it
doesn't.
After the title sequence?
No. Yeah, Robot does it after the title sequence.
Okay. Doctors in Castrovalva. That's an 80s thing. Then of course you get to New Who, and it's almost every story, especially in the RTD and Moffat eras.
Oh yeah, I love it. Ugh.
Oh yeah, how many Moffat era stories don't have a pre-title sequence?
That's a good question. I can't actually think of any.
Are there actually any that don't? Oh no, Day of the Doctor. Day of the Doctor is one of them.
Yeah. I can't think of any others that come to mind right now, so... There probably is, and it's going to make me feel really stupid afterwards, but, like... No, I'm genuinely trying to cycle through them, and I can't think of one.
It genuinely might actually be Day of the Doctor is the only one that doesn't have one.
Yeah.
Because, like, with the RTD era, you've got Rose, you've got Smith and Jones,
Partners in Crime.
And Partners in Crime. Yeah. Then with Chibnall here, you got lots of them.
What's next?
This is the only 7th Doctor story whose writers also wrote for a previous Doctor, so for every writer after this story, it's always a new writer.
Ah. True. And there's a good case to make
the 7th Doctor's first story was by previous eras of Classic Who, or at least it's just the previous era. And then the 7th Doctor's last, I guess, outside of the if you ignore the TV movie, like Survival is late as a writer that came back later.
Yeah. And you know, it's the common consensus that this is the worst story of the era. I don't know if I agree with that, but probably. So yeah, maybe getting all new writers was a good shout. I don't know.
Oh, Donald Pickering was in this. Who did he also play? He's in the Keys of Marinus and he's in the Faceless Ones. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
He plays
like the father?
He plays Ison in the Keys of Marinus. He's a prosecutor. Oh yes, he's the bad prosecutor guy.
Oh.
You know, this one. And then in the Faceless Ones, he plays Blade's chameleon duplicate.
Yeah, I recognize him. Is he like the father figure in Time in the Rani then? The one who has to collaborate with the Rani?
He plays Baeus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because he's in the Kurgan costume.
Yeah.
He looks way older. Very interesting. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Originally, the Sixth Doctor was to have regenerated at the end of the story instead of the start, with Colin Baker in it. It makes me wonder though, how the plot would have done with Rani pretending to be Mel with the Sixth Doctor in it.
She probably would have given him the amnesia drug anyway.
Yeah. Do you think season 24 would have been better, and this story specifically, if Colin Baker had stayed for the whole season and then had regenerated at the end of Dragonfire?
No.
No, you're going to be the same?
I think it might be worse with Colin, honestly, because I think I've said this before, but season 24 is such a creative changeover. You know, no Eric Saywood, no Robert Holmes, no Ian Levine, no, who else? No well, I guess Dominic Glynn was still around, but like, you know, he's not the main composer anymore. Like now it's Kef. So much like new elements, like Kef, like Andrew Cartmel, even though he didn't have major influence yet, but still. Like so many new people in.
The only familiar element was Mel, and she'd only just debuted.
Yeah. And I guess the Rani, and even then, she doesn't really feel much like how she did in Mark of the Rani. She's a lot more like glamorous and.
The Eric Saywood the Eric Saywood part of Mark of the Rani isn't there in this story.
Yeah. Whereas I think if this story with Colin and all the other stories with Colin, no, it would just feel alien. Like, his era would just feel like it has this weird sort of tonal shift at the end that doesn't belong there. And as much as Colin did deserve the sack, I feel like him not being in this season was the right choice. I think Sylvester does suit the creative direction better. But
it's just the execution, right?
Yeah.
What was it? They had 3 months to produce it? Something like that?
May have been.
Apparently the original pre-title scene, before they had to make it the Regeneration, was going to be Albert Einstein kidnapped by the Rani.
Wow. They were really going to fire up... So, either way, they would have had a pre-title sequence. That's interesting.
Yeah, that was the idea that they wanted to go with.
I mean, I guess, they did the same for Remembrance of the Daleks next year. That kicks off with a pre-title sequence. So I guess that's just something they wanted to do for the McCoy era. Annoyingly, Battlefield doesn't do it, though, so...
Yeah. Apparently, Andrew Cartmel did not get along with Pippin Jane Baker, who repeatedly told him that as a novice with no prior TV experience, he had no business trying to advise them on anything other than what was or wasn't feasible on the show's budget, which was actually the thing that he was the least qualified to advise them on, and didn't even always take his advice on that front. In particular, they refused to remove a scripted scene where King Solomon is abducted in the midst of an argument over who is the rightful mother of a baby, just as his guard prepares to split it into two with an axe so as to give one half of each to the mother. The Bakers refused to back down until John Nathan Turner pointed out that if neither he nor Cartmel were familiar with that parable, odds are most viewers at home wouldn't be either.
What the fuck, Pip and Jane?
Not so innocent after all, I guess. You don't have experience, whereas we do.
Yeah, kind of elitist of them. Which, I get it, but, I kind of think, he's the script editor. He has kind of a right to tell you what to do creatively, even if he's a novice.
John Nathan Turner.
Job.
John Nathan Turner originally preferred not to include the regeneration. So the same scene would have happened, but there would have been no regeneration. It just would have been Sylvester without the wig. And he just turns him over and he's got a new face already. It happened off screen. But then Nathan Turner later changed his mind and decided to have it in there anyway. The director, Andrew Morgan, wanted to use a clip of Colin Baker, but Nathan Turner refused.
What clips would there even have been to use?
There were some actresses that were considered for the role of Faroon. One of them was Judi Dench. Another one was Ingrid Pitt. Imagine Judi Dench in Time of the Rani.
Somehow wouldn't be as humiliating as Cats, but there you go.
Oh, so apparently Kayla Morrow was famous for her role in the show called Dynasty. That was the Hollywood thing.
Ah.
Or Dynasty, as you might say.
So that's what she was going to, reprise her role for or something, and then...
Yeah, and then she wrote to John Nathan Turner from Hollywood and says, I can't stand the eternal sunshine, you've got to help me. I want to be in a gravel pit somewhere in the pissing rain, changing it in a caravan in front of 20 nosy crew members.
Queen. So quintessentially British.
So apparently, when John Nathan Turner commissioned Pip and Jane to write this story, his request was to have a new monster and a giant brain. Jonathan Turner felt the
some reason
story was interesting, if not highly complex, with lots of Kate O'Mara to do. Lots for the Kate O'Mara to do, is what he described her as.
The Kate O'Mara. I mean, there's certainly a lot for her to do. That he's not wrong there. I guess.
Pip and Jane Baker were not keen on Sylvester McCoy. They felt he was too jokey, and they disliked the spoon playing, with Pip complaining, "Where would a Time Lord learn to play the bloody spoons?"
My guy, if anyone would write that, it'd be you two. You're the most wholesome motherfuckers on the planet. Okay, whatever.
Here's one that you already know, Will. Sylvester McCoy enjoyed the opportunity to play the spoons on Kate O'Mara's décolletage.
Yep. He tells that story all the time at every convention.
Oh, here we go. Tetrap is an anagram of pet rat and a play on tetra, meaning four. That's why they're called tetraps, because they have 4 eyes. Oh, I can't believe I didn't think of that. And they were a merging of 2 creatures that Pip and Jane Baker thought were the most horrible, bats and rats. So they were a mixture of bat and rat. That's actually quite cool, actually. Tetrap is called tetrap because pet rat and tetra being 4.
It's also kind of Tory of them. Like, ew, the most horrible creatures, rats and bats.
Yeah. Pip and Jane Baker justified the Rani impersonating Mel by noting that it should have been played seriously, but Kate O'Mara found it difficult to impersonate Bonnie Langford while she was on set. So apparently it was originally going to be a serious thing.
Oh. Well, they made the right choice. If they were going to do it, then might as well do it.
Sylvester McCoy said that his first scene with the Tetraps was the most ridiculous thing he'd ever done, to which John Nathan Turner replied, "You ain't seen nothing yet."
He's not wrong. Delta and the Bannerman was just around the damn corner, so...
Sylvester McCoy said that the story wasn't as bad as it was portrayed, but conceded that it was written for Colin Baker and it was like a coat that didn't fit. Interesting.
There is a lot of weird outrage from Sylvan this that doesn't really fit him.
In terms of viewership ratings, the part 1 got 5.1 million viewers. And then part 2 got 4.2, part 3 got 4.3, and then part 4 got 4.9. So people were outraged after part 1, and then eventually it grew again. Like, as the story went on, more people caught on. But that initial thing, the initial drop was almost 1 million after the first episode. Probably people were frustrated by it. Interesting.
By Mel screaming in the ball.
And also, the boom operator had trouble following the Doctor's erratic movements, and there's the overhead microphone that can be visible in some bits. Oh yes, here we go. This is the thing that This is the thing that I noticed. The title sequence for Part 4 erroneously uses an earlier version with more transparent reddish photographs. So yeah, the title sequence in Part 4 is different. You may have noticed.
Yeah, I did. I don't know why.
The Doctor wasn't as vivid.
I don't know how you make that mistake, but...
Yes. Right. Give your conclusion a rating out of 10 for Time in the Rani.
As I said at the start, it is not a good story. It's far from a good story, actually. There's a lot wrong with it. There's a fair amount of plot holes. There's a lot of... like, the believability factor is pretty stretched for this one as well. And kind of contrived, too. The regeneration is handled pretty appallingly. The plot is kind of bare bones underneath all the camp. And a lot of the production aspects are abrasive. And yet, for some reason, I don't hate it. And I just enjoy it. It always puts a smile on my face, like in a weird but in like a guilty pleasure kind of way. Like, this is one of my biggest guilty pleasure Doctor Who stories because it's so batshit and so bad. It's so bad, and yet it's so confident in itself as well. And I admire that about it. I respect that.
It is a breath of fresh air, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like the exact opposite of everything the Colin Baker era was. Like, there is no, like... There's no angst to it. It's... I mean, there is a little bit, but it's innocent angst. It's not like, oh, there was a mercenary who, like, got killed horribly and there's blood everywhere. It's just like, oh, this woman got blown up and make a sad face.
A gangster turned Perry into a bird and drooled all over her tits. Like... You know what I mean?
Yeah. I can't give it a number. Can I give it like a symbol instead?
What symbol?
Question mark.
Yeah.
I think that's deserved, honestly. We were talking about how question marks exemplify the Doctor in this. That's the theme. Question mark out of 10. There we go.
All right, cool. Well, Time of the Rani is weird. It's just a weird story. It's got an interesting plot idea that spikes a few interesting moments, but the dialogue's crap. Some of the comedy, the intended comedy, is cringe. The unintentional comedy is really funny. The post-regeneration angle, for the most part, is handled appallingly, but it does give us that one really good scene with the Doctor and Mel as they're going around that thing, and they both suspect each other of not being who they are. I really like that bit. The Tetraps are hilarious. Kate O'Mara is fabulous. Maybe not quite as fabulous as she was in Mark of the Rani, though. I think that's her more superior story, although she has to share the screen a bit with Anthony Ainley, so it's more of an ensemble.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is just... Like, the thing is with Time Lash had, like, offensively bad morals. This doesn't have offensively bad morals, it's just really lame. And cringy.
Yeah. But kind of endearing at the same time.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to think of this one. This is such a bizarre story.
Can you even give it a number? Because I think you might have to go with the same route as me.
I think I'm gonna have to. I think I'll give this. Oh god! So I get Invasion of Time's a 3.5, Warriors of the Deep's a 4, and Time Lash is a 4.5, and then like the Smugglers is a 5. Like that's the standard we're at here. Like Android Invasion and Mythmaker is a 5.5. Well. King's Demons, is 5, So we're sort of around, and Time Flight is a 4. So we're sort of, I'm trying to toss up around, when I think about those stories, where does it land? I think it's better than the Invasion of Time, because it doesn't have catastrophic implications on the characters in the world.
Yes.
Because like Invasion of Time is it really fucks badly with Doctor Who, if you get what I mean. Warriors of the Deep is far more of a travesty in terms of production and character decisions and poor choreography and wasted character potential, all because of Maggie Thatcher. Time Flight, I think, also might be worse than this too, because of the Adric after... I mean, I guess the thing is, this handles post-regeneration really bad, but I think that the way that Time Flight handles Adric's death is actually worse than how this handles regeneration.
I think I'd agree with that.
And the whole Anthony Ainley pretending to be an Arabic stereotype for no reason is very weird. Oh. Yeah. So I think it is better than Warriors and Time Flight. So that moves us to Time Lash. I can't put this above Time Lash because, see, Time Lash has terrible morals, but I can't put this above Time Lash because Paul Darrow and Colin Baker are too good. They're just so good in that story. And it would feel weird to put it above Time Lash for that reason, if you get what I mean.
And Time Lash does feel more substantive as a story, even if I think I enjoy it less than this. So
Yeah,
it's a weird balance.
I'll give Time in the Rani a 4.5 out of 10. I think I will, because, yeah, I think I'll give Time in the Rani a 4.5 out of 10. This might surprise you. I don't know if you watched the video, and I know you probably disagree massively, but I actually gave the Twin Dilemma a 5 when I did it with Adam Martin. Because of, despite having much lower lows, I think it also has higher highs than some of the stories below it. Time in the Rani is a lot more innocent than the Twin Dilemma, but I also think that just personally, the cringy dialogue in Time in the Rani is just so pestering. Like, it's just, and the exposition and all that, like, just, it's so, like, the parts of the story that remind me of Chibnall Who is different to Time Lash, because Time Lash reminds me of Chibnall Who because of the really overblown plot and the really tone-deaf morals and that stuff, whereas this reminds me of Chibnall Who because of the cringy humor and the exposition and all that. This has camp, but the Twin Dilemma has so much going for it in some respects, I think, and it has a lot going against it, and I find that way more interesting to deconstruct than I do this, despite the fact enjoying some of the camp, bizarre, wacky elements that Time in the Rani has. I think if Time in the Rani had better direction, I think I would like it a lot more than a 4.5. I think the camera work could have transformed this into a proper guilty pleasure for me, but that's a big letdown. I think it could have gone even more camp than it is if it was more consistent with that.
I think that's
Time in the Rani a 4.5 for that reason. Yeah. Right, so we've only got 15 minutes left because I have to cut it off after that point. So, because of Bonnie Langford being in this episode as Mel, I am going to defend the power of the Doctor against Hellbent because she appears in that episode. And it's the most recent one to broadcast at the time of filming this. I don't know what your stance is. I think you may... which of these two stories do you prefer? Do you know?
Damn. I think Power of the Doctor might be more of a clusterfuck, but I think I'd still rather watch it. I think that's my stance on it.
Yeah, so my only rationale for defending the power of the Doctor, and actually what I like to do all the time with making comparisons between, and also I like to pick that one because it was a Chibnall one, and I wanted to use that because Chibnall likes Time in the Rani. Why I like to make comparisons is because it's a good way of doing it, but I think something that the power of the Doctor does better than Hellbent and better than Time in the Rani is, whilst, yes, plot-wise very contrived and not exactly impressive and could have been done better, but I find the fan service in the power of the Doctor a lot more endearing than in Time in the Rani and in Hellbent. Because the Time in the Rani fan service is really cringe with all the costume stuff in the dressing scenes, and then when you think about, I find the fan service in Hellbent to be really nihilistic and cynical and depressing and annoying. Like, like the the cloisters and the classic TARDIS set, and like the Dalek Weeping Angel Cyberman haunted house scene. All of that stuff really pisses me off, like, to no end. Whereas
that's
with
fair enough, yeah.
the power of the Doctor, whilst it is lazy, like in terms of its execution, the idea that the Doctor during regeneration has this sort of this thing in their mind where all of these previous incarnations that have died are all aging as spirits beyond, I think is actually quite a nice idea. And then you've also got stuff like how, I know you find it cringy, but the companion support group, I think, is not a terrible idea. It's one that was set up in the Sarah Jane Adventures. I think in concept could be something quite nice, although because it's Chris Chibnall, it's done in quite a kiddie way, if you get what I mean, especially with the way Graham introduces it all. It's just like I can't be the only one.
I
but
respect,
in terms of
I respect it as sort of like a mental health idea, like, oh, these people who went through so much band together and sort of like deal with their issues kind of thing. But like,
yeah,
I just, something about the idea of like all these companions meeting up and like knowing each other and being all chummy, like, it just makes the world feel really small and cute, and I just, no,
that is true.
But
that is true. Power of the Doctor also has that one scene with Peter Davison and Janet Fielding that I really like, where they you know, that's actually quite nice. And I do like the regeneration scene as well. I think that's quite sweet.
Yeah.
Whereas Hellbent,
I do enjoy
Hellbent
those
like the Power of the Doctor is 90% terrible, and I hate the Master in it. But by the very, very, very end of the story, it doesn't leave me with a sour taste in my mouth because of how it ends. Like the very end, whereas the end of Hellbent is just, it couldn't have been worse. The end of Hellbent could not have been worse for me. And that's the comparison I would make.
Yeah. Power of the Doctor, I have almost nothing good to say about it. Like, I think it's like just a hack of an episode. Just the ultimate in key jangling to get fans on your side after you delivered an era of mediocrity. But if there's one positive I can say about it, is that it gave some aging classic Who actors like one last opportunity to kill it, basically. Like, and this might be the last opportunity they'll ever have, really. So it's nice that it gave them that. I'm not in love with it. I'm not gonna like squee over like their cameos or anything, but it's nice that they had that opportunity, and that's all I have to say about Power of the Doctor. So I can sort of like get vicarious like happiness for them through that, whereas Hellbent, I don't really feel anything for it. It's just kind of dead to me, but
yeah,
you know, that's it. That's all I have to say about either of them.
Yeah. Hellbent's also a lot more pretentious, way more pretentious than Power of the Doctor. I think, anyway.
And okay, here's a fun game. Who gives a worse performance, Sacha Dhawan in Power of the Doctor or Donald Sumpter in Hellbent?
Sacha Dhawan's performance is worse, but Donald Sumpter is just miscast. Like, he doesn't suit Rassilon.
Yeah.
Actually, to be fair, Donald Sumpter actually gets probably, unironically, the best moment in Hellbent, which is the how many regenerations did we give you, and that's something that Chris Chibnall ruined in The Timeless Children. I actually, that is the one line from Hellbent that I actually think does some good, is the how many regenerations did we give you. That's actually, that uncertainty is something that I can appreciate. Of course, that uncertainty no longer exists, but that's one bit of credit I would give to that dumpster of an episode.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
yeah,
so that was...
yeah, that was Time of the Rani. I feel like I haven't learned much, to be honest.
Yeah. This is going out on the 24th, right?
I think, if everything goes to plan, yes.
Okay. Check out the Hooniversals because I reviewed a similarly shit story, The Doctor, the Widow, and the Wardrobe, today on Christmas Eve. So, yeah. Wow. Really doing a lot this Christmas, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice to have you on board.
So,
nice to appreciate this wonderful story.
That's right. So, yeah, next time on the Advent Calendar will be, hopefully, day 25, which is a big one. It's a major video. It's actually a sequel to something that we did on the very first Advent Calendar in 2018. So look forward to that. And the next time on Worst of Classic Who will be Paradise Towers, which I have not watched since 2013. And if I film it next year, that'll be 10 years since I've last seen it.
Ooh,
so that's
nice.
That's interesting. So look forward to that at some point in the future.
And then you'll have wrapped up your Classic Who.
Well, then it'll be Dragonfire after that. Then it'll be Dragonfire. Yeah. And then Silver Nemesis, which I've already filmed last year. And then it'll be The Wheel in Space. And then it'll be Dimensions in Time. Hey. Unless, actually, no, maybe it'll be maybe Dimensions in Time first, then The Wheel in Space? I don't know. We'll figure it out.
I think that'd be better, honestly. But yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for coming on. See you all next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.